Peace be with you. So, a common question I hear is, what does God want from me? And the answer to that question is very easy. Basically, what God wants from us is to grow into people that will belong into heaven, people that won't ruin heaven. Because heaven will be heaven, right? Everything is perfect. There is no diseases. There is no, uh, natural disasters. Nothing like that. The only way it can be ruined is if beings of free choice choose to behave in a way that will destroy, that will make it unpleasant for others who are there. So that is why we have to grow because heaven has to stay heaven. And so we have to prove under the best of circumstances, under the worst of circumstances, that we will do just fine under the best of circumstances. Of course, none of us are going to be perfect under tougher circumstances, but we are expected to come very, very, very close because that is the only guarantee that we will do better under better circumstances. That we will not fail under better circumstances. So what are the people of heaven expected to be like? And that is what the prophets brought. This description of what we are supposed to behave like is what they brought. The strict moral code that is non-negotiable, right? There is no God. This whole concept of forgiveness is real, but is only real for those who grow. You don't get forgiven if you never grew, if you stayed a lying dirtbag or a selfish dirtbag or a cheater or any of those things. You don't get forgiveness unless you proved in this life that you changed, and that's the whole purpose of life. That's it, to grow into a being that belongs into heaven. And those who don't do that, those who don't want to be bothered by that, they have a choice. Hey, you made your choice, and you can't blame God for what happens next. So what are some of these characteristics of these people? For example, in the Quran, God says, "And the believing men and the believing women, and the submitting men and the submitting women, and the uh, obeying men and the obeying women, and the truthful men and the truthful women, and the patient men and the patient women, and the humble men and the humble women, and the fasting men and the fasting women, and the charitable men and the charitable women, and the modest men and the modest women, and men who remember God much and women who remember, they will have a forgiveness and a great reward," right? So those are the basic characteristics that we have to master. This is the whole purpose of faith and the whole purpose of religion. You have to be obedient to God. You have to have faith in God, believing that whatever God decreed that you should do is good for you, and believing that whatever God forbade from you is bad for you and everybody else around you. And that is, if you use reason and you really consider these commandments, you will realize that that is true. You can use your reason to augment your faith. So this is what we're supposed to grow into, and everything else that we're given is tools like prayer and fasting and all those things. They are tools for to help us do this. So we go through this journey, and we get tested on things that we're not good at over and over and over again. We're supposed to recognize these tests and grow from them, not be frustrated by them, grow from them. And that is the other part of what the book says, for us to expect these tests. So you mentally prepare yourself. You learn from your failures and you continue to grow, because nobody's perfect. You don't just wake up one day and be perfect. You actually need to grow. It's a struggle. That's why that word jihad in Arabic, which means struggle, is used in the Quran. It isn't associated with fighting others. It is associated with fighting yourself. Um, so basically, and for example, just another common commandment that is in the Quran is, for example, abstaining from gossip, so spreading false news. Again, think about how we can think to our teenage years and understand how that makes somebody feel unpleasant or sad or even suicidal. So this is why this is not allowed, and you can go through a whole. Bunch of these commandments and realize how terrible they are and why they are not acceptable in heaven. Because again, the only way we can ruin heaven is the only things or entities that can ruin it is creatures of free will who make bad choices, and that's it. This is our existence. Um, so that's it. There's really not much else to be said on it. There are a few more commandments that God makes demands of us, and I'll just mention, for example, what constitutes the straight path. So these are the non-negotiable commandments that God demands from us. In chapter 6, verses 151 to 153, Prophet Muhammad is instructed by God to tell this to us, say this to his people, and so the verses begin with the word "say," and so it goes, "Say." Come, let me tell you what your Lord has made forbidden for you, that you should associate anything with him. And then do good to your parents. And do not kill your children out of fear of poverty. We provide for you and for them. And do not approach sexual immorality, whether it's concealed or out in the open. And do not kill a soul that God has made forbidden except for the requirements of justice. These are his commandments to you that you may be mindful. And do not approach the property of an orphan except in the most righteous manner until they reach maturity. And give full weight and measure with justice when you trade. With justice. We do not burden a soul beyond its ability. And when you speak, be just, even against your own family, and keep your deal with God. These are his commandments to you that you may be mindful. And this is my straight path. So Prophet Muhammad is telling people, this is my Sirat al-Mustaqim. That's the Arabic word for it. My straight path. So follow it. And do not follow any other paths, for they will lead you away from his path, from God's path. These are his commandments to you that you may be careful of your duty. So he basically tells people, listen, you have to be careful what you do. These are very important commandments. So, goodness to our parents, for example. Somebody that loves us the most, whoever has kids, finally understands what the parents' love is. So these are the people that are on our side the most, that will protect us the most. So most of us take advantage of that the most to treat them like crap, and this is not acceptable. So these people who do this, they are not appreciative. They never learn to be appreciative. So in heaven, they will not be appreciative. And whoever is that nice, so parents are the nicest to us, or at least for most of us, they will not appreciate it, and they will actually use it to mistreat those people. And the same goes for other things, sexual immorality. We know that the disease that is the pain that causes to people, even the physical manifestations of it, such as sexually transmitted diseases and so on. Uh, you know, uh, Mistreating orphans. Again, these are the people who take the weakest of the weak and they abuse them. Not being just. These are the liars. These are the people, imagine if injustice was ever done to you. This is some of the most painful feelings that we experience, the feeling of despair and unfairness when we are punished unjustly or we are accused unjustly. So, this is it. It's not very complicated. It's a strict moral code that you're expected to grow into, and you can label yourself a Muslim or a Christian or whatever you want, but unless you grow into this, unless you grow through your life, I'm not, I can't say definitely what will happen person for person, but hell is promised for these people. And why hell is the way it is, I don't know. That's up to God. I'm not going to question God's decision for creating hell. But I know that everybody has an option for heaven. Why not take it? Like, you literally want this for yourself, so why wouldn't you extend it to others? And that's where that do unto others as you want them to do unto you is that is going to be what heaven is like, because none of us, or none of the people that make it there, are going to be unjust. None of them are going to be violent. None of them are going to be arrogant. And that's just what's going to keep heaven for eternity. That's it. That is what God wants from us. That is religion. All this other stuff, these organizations created by people, they're just organizations. They don't represent God. The moral code represents God. And that's it. Unless we follow it, no matter what label we attach to ourselves, Muslim, Christians, it doesn't matter. Where we will go to hell. That's all.